So why shouldn't Palestinians be allowed to return to their stolen land and homes?
Because it would not materially benefit them in the long run.
So the
Or anyone
problem,
else for
so
that
for
matter.
you, the problem for Palestinians isn't that they have been literally had their homes, their land, their livelihoods materially stolen from them. What is it then? What's the problem?
That is an issue. However, simply giving them their homes back will not solve that overnight.
Giving them their homes back would sure go a long fucking way towards solving it, because the entire issue is one of land, one of their livelihoods being taken from them. That's literally what settler colonialism is. It's taking land from one group of people, giving it to another. So why would this not solve the problem? Why should we not try to solve the problem in that way?
Because this isn't South Africa, Rhodesia, where whites were less than 6% of the population.
Okay, so if you're a higher percent of the population, you get to keep what you stole via genocide? Is that how it works?
Okay. Let me gather my thoughts. That isn't how it works. However, that is the reality of the situation. The reality
What reality of the situation? It's like
Reality
saying the
is
reality
that
of the
giving
situation in the
mass-
middle of World War II is that the land was occupied by the Nazis. Ergo, they should keep it. Doesn't make any sense at all.
I can't talk very good. Okay, so during World War II, that was in the process of already happening. That literally just happened.
So you
the
get to keep
actual
what you've
criminals
stolen if it
doing
didn't
it.
just happen. Is that what I'm hearing? That's the difference, right?
Because there are Israelis who did nothing wrong. Like the vast majority of the Israelis are refugees who they had nowhere else to go other than to die.
Incorrect. That's a Hasbro talking point. It's completely not true. I can recommend you some great articles on this. For example, it's not true that most Israeli Jews were expelled from Arab countries. Israel actually tried to force those countries to forcibly expel them to Israel. Literally. I can recommend you a fantastic article on this, no problem.
I have to go through it, see if it actually has legitimacy.
I don't really care what you think is legitimate or not.
Well, good. I don't care what you think either.
Well, I can back up what I say, right? That's the difference. I don't need you to think it's good or not. I actually know what I'm talking about. This is the difference.
Oh. Okay. And you... Okay, and my solution is bad because... Do you even know what my solution is?
Your solution is that Palestinians don't get any of their land or homes back. That's not even a solution. It's a non-solution.
That's not my position. You don't know my position because you never asked.
You were just arguing against it.
What is my position? Do you want me to tell you?
I asked you at the beginning. I asked you at the beginning, why shouldn't Palestinians get their land and homes back? And then your position was an explanation for why they shouldn't. So clearly you believe that.
Okay, can I explain my position now?
Your position, what you said, is that Palestinians should not get their land and homes back because you don't think they'll be productive.
Is that everything I said?
What did you say then? Explain how you're not against Palestinians getting their land and homes back.
I said that Israel and Palestine should be made a single multinational state where travel between them is
South
equal.
Africa was made a single multinational state.
Israeli wealth will be given to Palestinians.
Why just a massive amount of wealth? Palestinians don't want wealth. They want their land and homes back. Why can't they get their land and homes back? They don't want to be paid to fuck off. They want their land and homes back.
Because it wouldn't help them in the wrong one. In the long run, this is better for Palestinians.
Because why? How is it better in the long... And how the fuck would that even happen? Like, you're just going to force Israel? Like, if, Palestinians, 90%...
Wait, how would you... How would you give Palestinians
and they have said they will refuse compensation in lieu of that.
How would you do that? You never forced them to. How would you do that? How would you give Israel...
How were Nazis colonizing Poland forced to give their homes back to Polish and Jews? How?
Well, you're going to forcibly invade Israel. Who will be invading Israel?
Fuck yeah, Palestinians will. We'll give them the guns for it. Why not? Why are you against
Who will be giving them the guns?
Everyone. Who won't be giving them the guns?
Who's everyone?
The base Hezbollah.
Like the entire national community?
Why are you against this? Why are you against forcing Israel to give Palestinians their land and homes back and just trying to find roundabout explanations for it? You clearly don't actually believe that your explanation for this, it's not that you don't think it's practical, it's that you are against it. So please own your positions. Please.
My positions are better.
Your positions are better? How is it better for Palestinians? 90% of them disagree with you. Polls show this. Palestinians would not accept compensation in lieu of returning their land and homes. Palestinians would not accept compensation.
If most Palestinians want a slave state, would you agree with that?
They don't want that. So who gives a fuck? What they want is their land and homes back. You're trying to make up. You're trying. Is wanting a slave state the same thing as wanting your stolen land and home back? Yes or no?
It's not the same, but if they
then why are you comparing it to that? Why are you making up these idiotic hypotheticals that have nothing to do with it?
Would it be okay though?
Why? I'm not answering your idiotic gotcha question. What you need to actually deal with is the facts at hand. Palestinians want their land and homes back. Okay? It's that simple. They want their land and homes back. They're not willing to compromise on that. Why should they not be able to get their land and homes back from the people who genocided them? Why should they not be able to get their land and homes back from the people who genocided them? Why not?
Because it would not materially benefit them in the long run.
It literally would materially benefit them. They get their land and homes back. How does that not materially benefit them? How? How does having your stolen land and home back not materially benefit you?
I'm not saying they would not benefit. I'm saying over time it would be worse off for more people.
Why? How would it be worse for Palestinians to not get their land and homes back? Like, that's a pretty fucking valuable thing, not just for their day-to-day lives, but a valuable asset that they can then use to leverage. That's the entire problem with the supposed end of apartheid in South Africa, is that literally nothing was changed. Nothing meaningful was changed materially. They just let everyone keep everything they'd stolen. There was no land reform.
Yes, I agree.
There was
they should have large slums of Israeli wealth.
You don't agree because you're advocating against it.
I'm advocating evicting people from their homes.
How did they get?
I'm advocating evicting people from their homes.
How did they get their homes? Is it wrong to evict someone from a house that they have received through genocide to give it back to the person who they stole it from?
Did they commit that genocide?
Yes.
No, the person specifically living there.
This is a very individualistic,
or did
liberal, moralistic idea of what constitutes.
The Israeli government committed the genocide.
The Israeli government is upheld by Israelis who have a material interest. The average Israeli citizen is an enthusiastic upholder of the Zionist state. The average Israeli citizen is
a victim of propaganda, being raised in a country.
How are they victims? How are they victims? How does this negatively affect them in any way, shape, or form? They are beneficiaries of it. How the fuck are they victims of propaganda when they're living large? Because
over time they will become wage slaves of the Israeli government and bourgeoisie.
They're clearly not wage slaves of the Israeli government and bourgeoisie because they enthusiastically uphold the ethno-nationalism of the Israeli state because they know they benefit from it. They receive material benefits from it. They have material incentives to uphold it. That doesn't make them. That does not make them. It's not the Israeli bourgeoisie dividing. It's not the Israeli bourgeoisie. It is all Israelis. They have an ethno-nationalist conception of their state, of how it should be. They enthusiastically divide it along these lines. It's not like they're just sitting there like, oh man, I've been forced to live in this Palestinian house. I've been forced to vote for the Zionist parties at every election. I'm forced to uphold the ethno-state.
Well, a lot of them are refugees being forced to live there.
You're saying essentially that Nazis who enthusiastically moved in to Polish houses have no...
They were active. That was an invading army actively being
Israelis
there.
Literally still actively keeping Palestinians in concentration camps, in Bantustans, to this very day, continuing their genocide. And this is upheld by the vast majority of Israelis today. How the fuck do they not bear any responsibility for it? How?
Because you cannot hold people responsible for the system they happen to be born in.
So you're allowed to do literally anything, and you will hold no responsibility for it just because you were born into it. Is that it? So if someone was born into like a winning Nazi German state, and they like went over there and Poland, Ukraine occupied by the Nazis, mass murdered everyone there, took their homes and land, etc., they wouldn't be responsible for that because they didn't start it. Is that how it works?
The only people responsible are the people who perpetuate and the people who are in charge of the system.
They perpetuate it. They aren't against the system.
They don't perpetuate it. They are born into it.
The system is them. They are the system. A state is not like a god. It's not like an immaterial entity. It's something upheld by human beings.
You know there's a difference between like a janitor working like a shift and like an actual government official, right?
Does the janitor support the maintenance of the Israeli ethno-state?
Do they know anything different? Do they know anything different?
Do you think you can just plead ignorance when you're doing something that materially hurts millions upon millions of people? You're upholding it, you're living on their land, you're living it large, and by doing so, you're denying them what you took from
Are
them,
tornadoes
what they
then
need,
morally
what they
same
want.
as a janitor?
Who gives a shit if they're morally the same? That's a completely, just because there's different levels of responsibility doesn't mean there's no responsibility. It doesn't mean you can just claim that, like, oh, they shouldn't have this taken from them, even though they took it from the people who want it back. You're trying to turn it into an individualistic, moralistic thing.
Okay, white colonizer, what have you done for Native Australians and for Aboriginal Australians? You're on stolen land too, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
Oh, not now. You were just raised on. It's okay because you left.
Do you think that there is a difference between an Israeli who advocates against the Israeli ethno-state actively, who supports abolishing it, who advocates for the right of return for Palestinians, and an Israeli,
Are you a colonizer?
Is there? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? You're clearly diverting from the point.
Let's
ask a simple question.
Are you a white colonizer?
Simple question. Is there a difference between an Israeli who is against the existence of Israel, who wants to create a multinational, one-state solution where Palestinians get their homes and land back, and an Israeli who is against that because it benefits them and they want to maintain the current existence of the Israeli ethno-state? Is there a difference between those two people? Yes or no?
Okay, who's the first person? Like, repeat the question. I didn't hear you properly.
An Israeli who is against the existence of Israel, who is against denying Palestinians the right of return, denying them, giving them their homes and land back, etc., who is for a one-state solution. Is there a moral difference between them and an Israeli who is the polar opposite of that?
Yes, but that's not your average Israeli.
Precisely.
Average Israelis are born into the propaganda of believing the first.
I don't think being born into the propaganda absolves you of that. And for one, it's also not propaganda. They are materially invested in it. It's not just, oh, I was born into this, I believe it's correct because they tell me it's correct. No, they materially benefit from it. Palestinians being dispossessed increases their standard of living because they literally live on their land. The Palestinians are literally used by the labor aristocratic working class in Israel as their form of cheap labor. Their lives are upheld by Palestinian oppression. Their living standards are upheld by Palestinian oppression. So yeah, I think they certainly have blame for that, unless they advocate against it, unless they are against it, unless they don't come up with dumb excuses for why this shouldn't be remedied. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I'm suggesting, and okay, so your solution is to basically punish people who don't know, who effectively are ignorant of the situation entirely.
Was it a punishment?
They've never even seen a Palestinian.
Is it a punishment? Is it a punishment to give something that was stolen back to the person that it was stolen from? Is that a punishment to the person who stole it? Or is it justice for the person who it was stolen from?
This is like a person living in a house. You're talking about evicting a family from home.
I don't give a shit. This is not about punishment. It's not about punishment.
Where would they go?
It's not about punishment. It's about restitution. It's restitution.
Where would the evicted families go? Would they live on the streets?
I don't give a shit.
Where would they live?
Do you think in the middle of World War II it would be proper and right for you to ask, well, where would these poor German settlers go? Obviously not. That's their problem. It's not the problem of the people who they stole the land from.
They would go back to Germany. They would go back to Germany and be rehabilitated into society.
So you're for rehabilitating, re-educating Zionists?
It's not re-education. It's rehabilitating. We're not talking about like an active arm. We're talking about your average citizen.
I just explained why the average citizen is complicit in Zionism, and I also explained to you that it doesn't matter particularly what their own complicity is in it, because they're living in a stolen house. They're living in a stolen house.
Where are the Germans at the re-education camps?
What Germans in concentration camps? What the fuck are you talking about?
Where are Germans at the re-education camps in West Germany?
Germans were largely, though not even remotely as much as they should have, denazified. That is a fact. The German state was massively denazified.
What is denazification?
What? What are you asking?
I'm saying that because denazification is removal of Nazis from positions of
economic
and political
power. It
is
also ideological.
And to punish the ringleaders and to punish the ringleaders and the people who perpetuated it.
Denazification was also re-education. It was also
through propaganda. Through state media.
Who gives a shit? What's wrong with telling people that Nazism is bad? Do you think that people should just be allowed to live beside the Palestinians?
Yeah, there's a difference between that saying them to a camp. There's a difference between telling people they are bad and telling people to re-education camps.
So we just tell them, hey, you're bad, but nothing else. Hey, What you did is bad, but you get
We
to keep
take
the
away
house.
the economic
You get to
power
keep the
and the
house.
political
We
power
don't need.
of
It's like
known,
1
and
second
then
ago
listen
you were
up.
saying
If
that
you
they're
want to get Nazi, you have
propagandized.
your political and economic power taken away.
How does this possibly square? Like you were saying, they're propagandized to believe that Palestinians aren't human and that what's happening to them is good. But at the same time, we shouldn't propagandize them in the opposite direction. How does that make sense?
I'm not saying that. You just want to put Jewish people in education camps. I'm against education
Who said
camps.
anything about Jewish people? The problem with Israel has nothing to do with Jewish people. Israel would be exactly the same morally if it were Mormons, if it were Afrikaners, if it were fucking Chinese people. The problem with Israel is settler colonialism, nothing to do with Jewish people. You're simply trying to turn it into something to do with Jewish people because you have no idea.
Okay. So are you against re-education camps? Yes or no? Not propaganda.
I'm absolutely for the re-education of people who believe in settler colonialism because otherwise it would be unsafe for them to leave beside their victims after decolonization.
Camps here, re-education camps.
A camp is just a fancy word for a prison or whatever the fuck you want, like an education center, whatever. A camp is a word created by Western propagandists to describe what is essentially a prison. There's nothing different. It's a word for,
But you want to send people to a re-education prison then?
I have nothing wrong. I have absolutely nothing wrong with re-educating people who believe in the genocide of another group of people, because otherwise, just putting them side by side with that group of people would be a recipe for absolute disaster. Obviously, yes. Do you disagree with that?
Because it never happened in West Germany.
It did happen.
There was state media and there was the public. The Nuremberg
and it should have happened more in West Germany
because it was showing what the Nazis did, why it was wrong.
Are you aware of a very well-known part of the Nuremberg trials, which was that people could not simply defend what they did by saying they were just following orders, by saying that they were simply lower on the rung of responsibility?
But these were ringleaders. Most of the lower up. The only people who were punished were higher ups, and
except we're not talking. For one, we're not talking about punishment here. We're not talking about punishment. We're talking about one, restitution, which is giving the stolen land and homes back to Palestinians, and two.
Okay. Let's say you want to do that. Where would they go?
Two, de-radicalization. Who cares where they go? They can go wherever the fuck they want. They just can't live in the land and the Palestinian homes that they stole. They can go anywhere else. They can go anywhere else in Palestine. They can move if they want.
Believe housing is
it's up to them. That's their problem.
It's not the problem.
It's not the problem of the colonized to come up with solution for their existence, inconveniencing the colonized.
Do you believe in left-wing politics? Yes or no? Do you believe housing is a human right?
You're just asking like random fucking questions.
I'm asking because I want to know. Do you believe housing is a human right? Yes or no?
I don't give a shit. It's not the Palestinians' responsibility to organize. It's not the responsibility of the Palestinians to make sure they cause zero inconveniences for their colonizers, for their genociders. That's a problem for the colonizer and the genocide.
Do you believe
I do not give a single fucking shit.
Do you believe housing is a human right?
I don't care. Can you imagine you being there at the end of World War II, as Germans were being evicted from Polish homes, saying, we can't do this because housing is a human right. These Polish people, they need to fucking
they were given
keep
new
living
houses,
on the streets.
Dumbass. They were removed from there and given new houses, you dumb fuck.
They weren't given new houses. Not at all.
Yes, they were reintegrated into society.
They were forced out. They were forced out at the barrel of a fucking gun. They were forced out at the barrel of a fucking gun. That is what happened. None of the people, no one gave a fucking shit.
And the
where they were going. That was their problem. That's their fucking problem. It's not up to the Palestinians to make sure that them getting their stolen land and homes is not inconvenient for the people who stole the land.
Whose job will it be then? Should it be someone's job then?
It's their job. Why can't Israel deal with that? They can build some houses or whatever. It's not up to the Palestinians.
Deal with the ramifications of
Israel has tons of resources that it could use to build high density housing or whatever. But the resources from Israel obviously are still going to be there. They're not going to evaporate. It's not the goal in its pockets. The money that it has aren't going to go anywhere.
You want to take that from them.
Why can't Israel deal with this? Why can't the Israelis deal with this?
Because Israel won't exist under your plan.
Why is it up to the Palestinians to make sure that they're fucking
whose job? If you want to be the Palestinian job, whose job will it be?
I don't give a shit. It's not up to me. It's not up to the Palestinians. We don't have. It's not our responsibility.
You're not a Marxist. You're not a left winger.
Do you think the definition of a Marxist is someone who asks like, but what happens to the poor genociders, and who says we can't remedy genocidal settler colonialism? We cannot take material steps.
Housing is a human right.
We cannot take material steps to end genocidal settler colonialism because it might inconvenience the genocidal settler colonists. I don't think that's a very Marxist view at all. I think a Marxist view is that we need to take clear material steps. I think that housing is not the responsibility of the Palestinians. That housing the genocidal oppressors is not the responsibility of the Palestinians. Nor was housing the genocidal German settlers after World War II the responsibility of the Soviet authorities.
But if they were refugees beforehand who had no choice but to either die or move to Israel.
That's mythology. For one, most of them were not refugees. They were forcibly repatriated at the request of the Israeli state.
Where they come from then? So the Arabs should not be held responsible. They just remove them.
Which Arabs?
Just because.
So the Palestinians remove them? Is it okay? To do settler colonialism?
What about the Palestinians?
Is it okay to do settler colonialism?
Did they get their homes back?
For one, that didn't happen. For one, you're literally trying to phrase.
That did happen.
Okay, here's a great analogy for you, which is literally exactly the same. If the USA expels 800,000 Native Americans from their homeland, and then in retaliation they expel a couple of hundred of Americans from the place that they were expelled to, are they morally in the wrong for that? Is this the same thing? Is what happened there the exact same thing? Yes or no?
One is more wrong than the other.
Clearly, one of these is not more wrong than the other because these are people taking a retaliatory action against their colonizer.
Retaliatory action.
And for one, those people who are expelled just went right there. They just literally moved into a genocided Palestinian house. And do you think the ethnically cleansed Palestinians could just move into a house? There were no houses there. There was nothing there.
Yes, they got fucked. It was horrible.
So how the fuck do you rationalize comparing these two completely uncomparable things as if they're the same? It really just seems like a misdirection.
Because I want to know if you're consistent. I want to know if you're logically consistent.
I have this is from a Hasbara guidebook released in 2009 by an American Israeli Zionist think tank. Your talking point comes literally from that. It says, and I've talked about this before, I don't know, you must be clearly unfamiliar with basic argumentation because this is very well known.
I must be unfamiliar with basic Marxist theory.
This talking point that Palestinian material justice should be framed as ethnic cleansing of Jews comes from Hasbara guidebooks. It comes from Benjamin Netanyahu. They've used this for decades now, and you are repeating it verbatim. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'll have to look up if that's true. I don't know. You could be talking on your ass.
No problem. I'll send you the PDF. I'll send you the PDF, and I'll also send you sources where Netanyahu says this.
That was a fucking liar.
Yeah, and he uses the exact same lies that you do.
How do you know it's a lie? He could just be using it as a means to justify what he's doing.
Because it's literally bullshit. It's comparing two completely uncomparable things.
Well, you think it did happen, but the comparisons don't match.
It doesn't matter if it happened or not. Because we're talking about literally like maybe hundreds of people at most versus 800,000 people being expelled.
And those hundreds
of people were only expelled. These people were, for one, colonizers in the first place. Active colonizers.
Only like 7 people were expelled. How did that help Palestinians?
I don't give a shit whether it helped Palestinians or not. It's literally not even remotely a part of the same sort of process. It was not a part of the systemic process of settler
colonization. You don't want to help Palestinians.
It was nothing.
You just want some petty restorative justice.
Would it help Palestinians if they got their land and homes back?
In a very minute way in the short term, yes.
How the fuck would it help? How the fuck is having your land and home back, land and home that is potentially worth millions of dollars, not a massive fucking material boon to you? How? It's literally like most people have like most of what they own is tied up in their house and their land. How the fucking hell would that not benefit them?
Because in the long term, it would isolate them economically and politically from the international community.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't at all. How? How the fuck? This is like the right of
That's
return.
global
The
capitalism.
right of Palestinian return specifically to their homes and land is
how
enshrined
would you
by
return
the
their homes?
international community. Are you
How
familiar
would you
with?
even do that? Let me know.
Are you familiar with the UN resolution which dictates that Palestinians have the right of return to their land
UN
and
can't
home?
do shit.
Are you
UN can't do
you
shit.
appeal to the international community. I'm informing you that the international community is in
Yes,
agreement.
they should be
with you.
given more power. They can't do shit though. How would you do it in our modern broken
The international
system?
community can't do shit. How? How was apartheid brought down?
Apartheid was blocked down because they're internationally isolated.
Okay. Who would internationally isolate Israel? The international community?
Yes, but you're missing the point there. In South Africa, they're allowed to keep their land. That only worked because the white majority kept their land.
For one,
Kept the land they stole.
that's completely massively untrue. The vast majority of those who
You just said
boycotted.
that South Africa were
South
not giving
Africa.
back. They never gave back the
South-
land. You said that
What I'm
not a
saying
second
is
ago.
untrue is that they were forced to give up for that reason. No one gave a shit about that. No one gave a shit if they were going to appropriate land from whites or not internationally. The vast majority of pressure from South Africa came from below, actually. It didn't come from the main imperialist countries. It came from a gradual boycott up from the
But
bottom
you
up.
said it was international pressure.
Yes, international pressure doesn't only come from the United
But
States
it
of
was
America.
local boycotts that did it.
Local boycotts? What the fuck are you talking about?
It said local boycotts, like down low boycotts.
No, what happened was there was a massive international movement against South African apartheid.
Okay, a movement from where?
A movement that began in the 50s, 60s, and came to a head in the 70s and 80s, where
But
Where-
the only
where-
reason,
led by former colonial countries.
the only reason the whites gave them equality was because they were allowed to exit
the
on
whites
their
didn't
terms.
the whites didn't give them equality. It was they were forced
Yes, it was
under
it was
massive
wasting South Africa
international
wasn't controlled by the
sanctions,
white majority.
under massive international sanctions and massive resistance by black people to abolish apartheid. That's what happened.
Okay, but it was still on their terms. You know that,
It was
right? It was
absolutely
on
not.
their terms.
It was not on their terms. It was on the terms of Nelson
It was ending
Mandela.
apartheid on their terms. They didn't want to end apartheid,
It was
but
on
they
the
ended it
terms
on their
of
terms.
it was on the terms of Nelson Mandela, who was unfortunately a massive lib. However, that doesn't mean that if there was land reform, it wouldn't have gone through. That doesn't mean like abolishing the Native Title Act. Obviously, pretty much everyone would have been on board with that. Who wouldn't have been on board with that? Like the fucking
Okay.
UK and US, who gives a shit? They
Okay.
came in so
I
late.
question
They were
for
literally
mine.
the
Where
last
would
country.
the Israelis go if they were evicted from their homes?
I don't give a shit. That's their problem. It's not the Palestinians'
Housing is a
problem.
human right. I believe housing is a human right. I believe everyone deserves housing.
I don't give a shit.
regardless of what they mean.
So do the Palestinians deserve housing? Do the Palestinians deserve to be housed in their homes that were stolen from
Yes,
them?
they do too.
Do the
They
Palestinians
do too.
deserve to get their house? Palestinians are actively being genocided right fucking now, and it is completely
stop.
fucking
That should stop.
disgusting that your only response to that,
You see,
your only
you
response to them
disagree with
getting
genocide.
their
You just have
housing
the wrong
back,
people.
your only response to them getting their housing back is to appeal to some idiotic reverse genocide notion. This is literally the white genocide conspiracy theory, and you are a disgusting piece of shit.
Okay,
want
I
you
want to
that.
know. I want to know. Where would they go?
I don't give a shit. It's not up to the Palestinians. It's up to them. It's their problem. Maybe they should
Oh, okay, it's
deal
up to
with it
them.
themselves.
So, well, let me ask you another question. Would Palestinian be a single ethnicity state or be a multi-ethnic state? Palestine.
Whatever the fuck it ends up being, who gives a shit?
Why do you care if you're not going to go through the details?
Because it's not up to me. It's up to the Palestinians. They are the people who are resisting
You're a
colonialism
lib. You
right
like
now.
identity politics. You're a lib.
You're a lib if you join up with colonized movements.
I'm going to bet you only listen to Palestinians who agree with you.
Can you? What Palestinian disagree? with?
Any other Palestinian is just like a bootlicker or something.
Do you? So you disagree that there are colonial collaborators? Do you
I-
think
that
do you
is
think
the-
is the Palestinian Authority? the
Are
legitimate representative
colonial
of the Palestinian
collaborators
people?
any less valid Palestinians than actual Palestinians?
It doesn't matter if they're valid Palestinians or whatever. They're collaborators.
Their voice is any less valid.
Do you
They're trying to
think,
survive,
do you
aren't
think
they?
that
If they're being
French
genocided against,
were
they're
French
trying to survive any way they
collaborators
can.
were French collaborators with Nazism just as valid in their opinions as French people who were against Nazism?
It depends. Are you talking about like officials?
How does
or
it
talking about
depend?
average citizens?
How does it
What
depend?
are you
Obviously,
talking about?
obviously, collaborators are not just as valid. Obviously, they're literally puppets of Israel. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to tell me like a bus represents?
What if someone isn't a
Palestinians hate
collaborator
these
and
people.
just and wants a two-state solution?
Then they're a collaborator. Palestinians don't want a two-state solution.
Oh, they're collaborator if they disagree with your views.
They are collaborators because they collaborate with giving up half of their country to the settler colonial occupier. That's why. And pretty much 99% of Palestinians.
Let's assume that Palestine was one state. Let me ask you another question. If Palestine was one state, would Israeli be a recognized ethnicity?
Israeli is just a fake nationality. Jew would be an ethnicity, obviously, but Israeli isn't real. If even Israel doesn't believe that
Israeli then.
Even Israel.
I'll let you have that cop out. What about Hebrew, the language? Would they be allowed to speak that in public?
Why the fuck wouldn't they? What the fuck are you
talking about?
They be
official language? Would Hebrew be the official language of Palestine?
Why the fuck wouldn't it? Like half the people there speak it. Why the fuck wouldn't it? What the fuck are you talking about?
Because you've called it a fake language?
It's a constructed language. It doesn't mean it's fake. What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, fine. Just lie about it. I can move on.
Okay, bye.
Second question.
Okay, you got more questions.
Yes, I have many. So tell me, what exactly
is there a reason why?
Wrong?
I just want to know, why is it that you just try what you think are gotcha questions over and over again? Where'd you learn this?
This is not gotcha questions.
You think they're gotcha questions, and when I give you a response, you're not interviewing shit. When I give you a response that you, for some reason, don't expect, which has to questions with obvious answers, you're just like disappointed. Like you thought you had like a big gotcha or something.
You've gotten better. I admit you've gotten better.
You haven't made me do anything. Like, what the fuck?
You've gotten better. I didn't make you do that. I didn't know you changed your view on Hebrew. So good.
What the fuck are you talking about? Since when have I ever said that Hebrew shouldn't be allowed to be spoken? What the fuck are you talking about?
Your dumbest fan said you didn't want that.
What? I said that Hebrew is a language that was constructed in order to legitimize the Israeli claim to Palestine. That's objectively true. Israeli historians themselves say this. How is that wrong? It was constructed for nationalist purposes.
I wanted to be people speak it. I wanted to be an official language.
Because you're lying. You're lying about what I said about Hebrew. So
one of your dumbass fans lied about it, and I assumed he was telling the truth.
Bullshit. You're just making shit up.
I'm not making it up. That's what your fans told me. Talk to your fans.
Well, one of your fans told me that you eat penis. Is that?
I don't have fans. I'm just a fucking poor fuck from Ireland.
You're not from Ireland.
Yes, I don't have an accent. I know. I don't have an accent.
You're an American who moved to fucking Ireland. Give me a break.
Okay, my mom's American and my dad's Irish. Are you happy?
Okay, I'm Greek then. Am I Greek?
If you want to be.
Okay, I'm Argentine. If I want to be Argentine, is that okay?
I don't know. If Israeli wants to be a Palestinian, do they not have to give their land back because they're officially Palestinian?
Everyone's going to be a Palestinian. Like, do you know the difference between nationality and ethnicity?
Yes, a nationality means what state you happen to belong to. Ethnicity is like a cultural thing.
Yeah, and so you know how there's, for example, like Anglo-Saxons who live in England. Doesn't mean that someone who isn't ethnically Anglo-Saxon, even though that's like the dominant ethnic group there, isn't English nationally. Same thing with Palestine.
Fine. Moving on. What exactly is wrong with the idea of giving Palestinians redistributing wealth from Israel to Palestine, is not evicting anyone? What exactly is wrong with that idea?
Well, firstly, Palestinians do not want compensation. This is overwhelming. They will not accept compensation. What they want is their land and homes back. That's by far the most important thing. We're talking about literal assets, right?
I'm not a liberal. I don't care what they want. I care what's best for them.
How do you know that this is worse? How is it worse for them to just get their fucking land and homes back? How is that worse for them? Why is it them who should have to give up their land and homes and accept compensation?
The situation is fucked, and
why shouldn't Israel be responsible for compensating the Israelis? Why is it the Palestinians' responsibility to just accept these terms of the Israelis? That doesn't sound very, very good to me materially.
Because over time, if you want one state, why not just make it so there's a massive wealth redistribution and the head honchos are gotten rid of, and with free travel, eventually the whole land back thing will become a non-issue.
Within that one state, around 30% of the land was still stolen. That is the issue. You have to give that back. Just magically declaring that there's one state isn't going to fix that.
And assuming this is the case, again, I believe housing is a human right. Where would they go?
I don't care what you believe.
It is not Palestinians' responsibility.
It's not up to the Palestinians. I don't care. I don't care. The priority isn't worrying about how this would inconvenience the Israelis. It's ending the settler colonial genocide of Israel.
Okay, well, I disagree with your system, because if you don't care, you won't get nothing done. This is just LARPing.
How is ending the settler colonial genocide of Palestinians not getting anything done?
It's not practical.
This isn't even worth talking about.
It's not practical.
How is it not
it's
practical?
Not practical.
How is it not practical? It's happened before.
Happened where?
After World War II. Happened in Rhodesia. Why is it not practical? Happened in
Those are completely
Algeria.
Different situations.
They're all settler colonial states being dismantled.
For Nigeria and Rhodesia, they were less than 6% or 5% of the population, respectively.
How does that change anything?
And for Nazi Germany, they weren't even part of the population yet. They were still trying to establish it.
Israelis who are currently occupying Palestinian homes and land constitute about only 20% of the population. For one, most of the land that Palestinians want back is not currently occupied. For two, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit how many of them there are or not.
You know, most of the land in Israel-Palestine is uninhabited because it's uninhabitable, right? It's just like empty desert.
That is literally just not true. They expelled people from places where they were literally living and turned it into farmland. They literally wiped towns off the map and turned it into farmland. Obviously, it's inhabitable because people inhabited it.
Okay. So, what, you're going to get rid of the farms and just build houses on top? Those houses don't even exist anymore.
If that's what the Palestinians want to do, it's up to them. If they just want to take it and immediately sell it, that's fine too. Whatever the fuck they want to do. It's theirs.
If they want to execute all the gays under Hamas, we should just allow that too.
You just like a Hasbara bot, man. It's sad that you believe that you're like a Marxist or a leftist. How do you even come to believe that? Like, yeah, you literally just repeat talking points that come straight from fucking Netanyahu. Like, anytime we talk about Palestinian liberation, it's Hamas, 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 reverse genocide. But what about the Palestinians? Anyway.
The Palestinians don't have a unified government.
That was a complete fucking waste of time. Random guy on Twitter who thought he had gotchas against me or something. Why talk to this guy? Because I can upload it to my stream and get lots of the money. The fucking, like, generic talking points, like, I've dealt with them a million times before. I cannot fucking believe that anyone says those things as if they're a gotcha. It's unbelievable. Here's like a million rapid-fire talking points that you have specifically dealt with 100 times before. There's no way I could ever deal with those again. I mean, I have a 2-hour-long video dealing with those fucking talking points. And these people, like, they avoid it like the plague. You ever notice how none of the subjects of my my demolishing of liberal Zionism actually responded to it? Lonerbox, aristocracy, Vaush, they all just ignored it. I think that's pretty fucking telling. That guy was just a random guy on Twitter, like a Vaush fan who challenged me, Vaush Lonerbox fan who challenged me to a debate and who thought that just saying, "you're white" was like the way to win the debate. I don't need to prepare. I was unprepared. The thing is, you don't need to prepare when you've dealt with these dumb fucking talking points 1,000 times before. Because it's always the same. It's always the same. They know there is no special justification for Israel. So what they have to do is just try and frame it as like a Jewish genocide to be against it. They have to like disconnect the fact that Israel would be equally as bad regardless of who was doing the genocide, to try and frame it as if Jewish people should have some sort of special right to do settler colonialism that isn't afforded to other groups of people. That's what it always comes down to. There was a guy on Twitter who literally, like, I'll show you, guy on Twitter today who had that same argument. I asked this guy here, was it wrong to evict Nazi German settlers from Poland so their victims could take their homes back? He says, no. Okay. So I asked, why would it be wrong to evict Israeli settlers who stole Palestinian houses? What's the difference? Why is one okay but not the other? That was my simple question. Their immediate response is just to say that, basically to try and say that that's the Holocaust. Will you kill or try to displace 6 million Jews? So it was okay to evict Nazi German settlers, but it's not okay to evict Israelis living in Palestinian homes. What is what's the possible explanation for this, aside from they have a double standard on ethnic grounds? Because that's what it is. It's this one ethnicity should have a special right to do things that are not permitted for other ethnicities. In this case, settler colonialism. That's all. And it's so pathetic. All they can do is just be like, oh, that's genocide, that's the Holocaust. As if it would be any different if it was Mormons or any other group of people.